Welcome to Mysterious Japan, created by Heath Havey and dedicated to Japan's dark histories, ghost stories, and frightful folklore. This is the dark side of Japan. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to episode 33 of Mysterious Japan. August is the time of Obon, traditions linked to Buddhist beliefs that the ancestral spirits return to the world of the living. But vengeful ghosts, malicious spirits, lost souls, and yokai also return to haunt the earth in August. And thus August, in Japan, it is the time of telling ghost stories. We begin this August with tales from the Hyakumonogatari. Just what does this mean? It literally translates to 100 stories. In past centuries, groups of people would gather in a room filled with tatami mats. Then they took turns telling ghost stories. The first published collection of these ghost stories was as far back as 1677, and many collections were published in the 18th and 19th centuries. Traditionally, the Hyakumonotari was held on the night of the new moon in a house with 3 rooms in an L shape. 2 rooms remain unlit, but the deepest room is lit by lanterns, with a total of 100 lit candle wicks. 1 lantern with 100 wicks was preferred. In the room with the lit candles, they placed a writing desk and mirror on top of the desk. The lantern was then covered with blue paper. Participants wore blue robes and had to enter without wearing swords. Any dangerous items like blades were removed from the 3 rooms. They sat in the completely dark room with another completely dark room, separating them from the room with the lantern. Each individual would take a turn telling a ghost story. Once complete, the person would have to stumble through complete darkness, through their room, the adjacent dark room, and into the room with the lantern. He extinguishes 1 candle, looks at his own face in the mirror, and then returns to the original room. Then the next person tells the next horror story. Some were ghost stories with spirits or monsters, but others were simply stories of mystery or karmic retribution. Whoever is the unlucky person to tell the 100th story must then go to the back room and extinguish the last candle. Then, they believed, a real ghost or demon would appear. Many testified that real spirits or monsters appeared after the 100th tale was complete. Because of this belief, they would often end the session at the 99th story and wait for morning. These stories were meant to be very short so that 100 tales could be told before the rising of the sun. Most were told in 3 minutes or less, to finish all 100 stories in about 5 hours. 5 minutes or longer was considered too long. Over time, the tradition has changed. 1 room was used, or stories were told outdoors like campfire tales. In modern times, teenagers use the haiku monogatari tradition to tell ghost stories over campfires or in haunted places as tests of courage. Today, we share some of these tales worthy of any Western Halloween horror stories or campfire tales. These stories come from geographic regions around Japan. Story 1. Rumors of the White Convertible. Troublous. This story comes from Gunma Prefecture. When the young college student saw the white Toyota Soarer at the used car dealership along the highway in Gunma Prefecture, he knew he had to have it. The original 1981 model was on sale for just 50,000 yen, less than $400, 0 cents. He knew such a price would be impossible in Tokyo, where he was from, but perhaps here in Gunma, they didn't know that it was worth so much more. He ran his hand along the white car's hood and window, staring at the convertible top with a smile of desire. This was a luxury car, released in 1981, that was now a classic. The hood was so sleek and tapered off so that it looked even better with the top down. A mechanic had run a full check on the car and given it top marks in the paperwork. Nothing was wrong with it mechanically. The young man bought the car on the spot, and the day it was delivered at his house, he could wait no longer to take it on the road. The wind swept through his hair as he rode by himself down the freeway. He almost didn't hear the sound, but when he did, he had to pull over and continue driving more slowly down the forest road. The sound continued, and he realized it was not a mechanical sound. No, not at all. This was the sound of a woman crying. Listening intently, he discerned that the crying was coming from the passenger seat next to him. But no one was there. The seat was empty. The entire car was empty except for him. But as soon as he realized what the sound was, he slammed on the brakes. Something then plopped down on the window in front of him and rolled down the hood of the car into the street. He couldn't believe what he just saw. It was too large to be a rock or fruit or anything, and its black hair twirled as the head of the woman had tumbled off the front of the car. With trepidation, he stepped out to the front of the car. Sure enough, a woman's severed head was right there in front of him. In the end, Black Coal was chained and connived, but it somehow... All rational thoughts escaped him as he jumped back in the car and drove away. He knew no one would believe him, but he told his college roommate Kenta. Having been born and raised in Gunma, Kenta just nodded his head. He had heard the story of the White Soarer. They called it the White Soarer rumor, but now it appeared to be true. Back in 1981, another young college student had bought the car new and invited his girlfriend to drive around in it with the top down. She loved riding in the car, and she would stick her head up with the top down, standing with her arms raised to enjoy the breeze against her face and hair. But the young man driving saw something approaching quickly ahead. His girlfriend didn't see it. Her head was turned as she took in the scenery of the forest, passing them by so quickly. What the driver saw was a sign bent down, broken, and hanging far too low. Before he could respond by slamming on the brakes or yelling out to his girlfriend, it was too late. The pole of the broken sign sliced off her head. As his car rolled to a stop from him slamming on the brakes, her head rolled down the window, onto the hood, and in front of the vehicle. This incident, and the sight he saw that day, drove the young man mad. He was hospitalized, but eventually took his own life. The White Soarer changed hands many times after that, but each time the new owner would experience strange phenomena. The woman's screams were just one of them. Some would also see the translucent spirit of the woman in the passenger seat. Others, like this new young college student, would see the head roll down the hood. Kenta told him that 50,000 yen was not such a good price for a haunted car, but this tale came too late for his roommate, who could only look out at the White Soarer and wonder how much someone would pay to take it off his hands. Or maybe, he wondered, he might have to pay the dealership to take it back. Story number 2, The Creature in the Lake. This tale comes from Aichi Prefecture. Iruka Lake has a history going back over 400 years, but in those years, many accidents have occurred near the lake. Some have reported sightings of ghosts. Some people have disappeared or come to violent ends. But one of the most common sightings was of a strange creature living in the lake. Many believe it to be a kappa that dwells there and comes out at night to cause mischief. Not too long ago, a group of 20-year-old friends were riding their motorcycles along the road bordering the lake. One of the bikers spotted a small, childlike figure walking directly in front of him across the road. It had pinkish-gray skin, a large head, and a shiny, smooth body. He yelled out in surprise and tried to stop, but his bike slid and fell over as he slammed on his brakes. The small figure skittered off into trees, disappearing into the darkness of night. His friends helped him back up to his bike, and their discussion turned to whether the thing had really been a kappa, which they thought was only a creature of legend. They decided to park their bikes and search the trees for the creature to scare it out. Something moved nearby, but it was moving too fast. Running back to their bikes, they gave chase. While it remained elusive, they were able to keep up with its movements until it made its way into the dark residential area. "We have you now," they were thinking. The kappa had run into a walled-off street with nowhere to run. But as they dismounted their bikes and stepped into the dark alley, it jumped and climbed up the wall and quickly sped away into the darkness once more. And again they raced to their bikes and gave chase. It was moving back to the lake, thinking it could escape them into the water, but a concrete wall acted as a barrier between the road and the lake. Triumphant yells escaped them as they ran toward the kappa. It was now cornered in an area with no people and no way to escape. One of them yelled out, We've come this far. Don't think you can escape us, you kappa." It then turned suddenly toward them as it neared the wall. As their flashlights lit upon the creature, they saw it clearly for the first time. This did not resemble descriptions of the legendary kappa. Its head was abnormally large and hairless. Its body was a grayish color, and dark spots dotted its body. The creature was small like a kappa, not any larger than an elementary school student, but it did not have the reptilian look of a kappa, and its eyes were dark and abnormally large. Then it did a surprising thing. It jumped, grabbed the wall, and bounded over the concrete wall to the lake beyond, disappearing with a splash. Though they searched longer, the group of friends could not find the creature, and eventually gave up looking. A few years later, when they were still in their mid-20s, they friends were watching a show on television. One of them screamed out, "That's him! That's him!" They all looked closely at the image on the screen and agreed they were looking at the creature from Aruka Lake. And they realized that the special on television was discussing the great aliens believed to visit the Earth in UFOs. They had not seen a kappa. They had chased an alien. Story number 3. The Woman at Kifune Shrine. This story comes from Kyoto Prefecture, at the famous Kifune Shrine. In episode 29, we discussed the Wariningyo curses, which are curses using straw dolls like voodoo dolls to curse a hated enemy. The most famous place, and the place considered the most powerful for these curses, is Kifune Shrine in Kyoto. He heard her before he saw her. It was the pounding of nails into the sacred tree. For 7 nights she had come, but he always stood his distance. But the 7th night was the critical night, when the curse would take effect. And this night, he did not remain unseen. The woman yelled as she pounded the nails into the tree. "Die, Hiroto, die! Hiroto, you will die!" Her voice was the sound of a lover betrayed, and it would come out that her lover, Hiroto, had cheated on her with the daughter of his boss, the company president. It was late at night, the hour of the ox. This is the hour when dark spirits are strongest, between 1 o'clock a.m. and 3 o'clock a.m. She thought she wouldn't be seen or heard, but she was. The young priest spying on her saw the straw doll. He saw the long nails protruding from the Wariningyo. But perhaps most striking of all, he saw the woman pounding in those 5-inch homemade nails, driving them through the straw doll and into the sacred tree, while she cursed her cheating lover. The priest knows this is the curse ritual called Ushi no Kokumairi. It is dark magic, evil sorcery practiced since the 8th century, and it is most commonly used to wish death upon someone. She screams again at the straw doll, "Die! Die, Hiroto!" The hatred of her heart spills out into words, and the violent striking of the hammer against that nail. She yells again, "It's all your fault, Hiroto. I wish death upon you." Hiroto, it turns out, has cast her aside and actually married the daughter of the company president. There is no turning back, no winning him back. The priest cannot take his eyes from this woman. She has come prepared in both body and spirit. Her garb attests to her seriousness. She wears a white kimono symbolizing death and Hashihime, the goddess of this curse who practiced black magic until she was transformed into a demon herself. And here this woman stood. Not only did she wear the white kimono, but white powder splotched her face, and red lipstick stood out on her lips as she muttered her curses. In her hair she has wrapped 5 candles in honor of Hashihime. Around her head she wears a mirror. She is following all the rules of the Ushinokoku Mairi curse. And when she hears the gasp of the priest and sees him standing so as not to be seen near the temple entrance, she screams her demonic scream and gives chase, brandishing the hammer. Before he can escape, the priest finds himself falling under the weight of the spurned woman. Hammer blows strike him before she runs off in the distance. He knows that there is one rule to this curse that must be followed. If someone sees you performing the curse ritual, then the curse will be reversed back on its caster, unless the person who sees the ritual is killed first. But the priest lives despite his wounds. The spurned woman, although identified, is never seen from again. Perhaps the curse reached her because he lived. Perhaps she chose not to resurface. but the priest will never forget her barbaric screams as she chased him down, as if he himself had been the cheating lover. Story number 4. The Ghosts of Sandanabeki. This story comes out of Wakayama Prefecture. The young college girl had been a huge fan of the music idol Hinano, wanting nothing more than to see the young musician in person, but that was not to be. She heard that the young musician committed suicide by jumping off a cliff at Sandanbeki while there filming a music video. She did this late at night after filming was complete. Though a renowned landmark on the seaside town, Sandanbeki cliffs also have a dark side, sometimes called the Suicide Cliff, which is about 50 meters high. Many believe that pictures taken at the cliffs will often show ghosts of suicide victims. But this young girl had been a fan since Hinano's debut, and when her friend Arata said they should go to the cliffs to see the place where she chose to spend her final night, she was surprised, but agreed wholeheartedly. Seeing Sandanbeki cliffs made it clear why this was chosen for promotional videos. The dizzying cliffs stretched on for over a mile and were an impressive sight to any visiting. The idol's jump increased popularity of the spot as a place to jump to one's death, and police increased in number to prevent these tragedies. But the area is so large that they could not prevent them all. But this did not stop rumors, which have existed for decades, that those who committed suicide here remain in spirit and try to force other visitors to also jump to their deaths. After seeing the cliffs, this young girl and her friend Arata retired to their hotel room. Their window faced the Sandanbeki cliffs, offering a beautiful view of the cliffs and the ocean beyond. They discussed the death of their music idol Hirano, wondering if the stress and pressure of fame and the music industry were too much to bear. They played her music and tried to remember her to bring a good feeling of reminiscence about her memory. But then, as night covered the windows and veiled the view beyond, Arata suddenly screamed in fright. She pointed at the window. Many things seemed to be approaching from the nearby cliffs, coming right toward their room. In moments they slapped against the window as if 50 birds had suddenly flown into the window pane trying to get into the room. But these were no birds. They were the faces of many people distorted with pain. Neither of them could look away from the terror on these faces. These were the victims of suicide who threw themselves over the cliffs. And then they gasped. Among those faces, they could see Hinano's sad face looking at them. We hope you have enjoyed these scary stories from 4 geographies of Japan. In this episode of The Mysterious Japan,
this has been Mysterious Japan, created, written, and translated by Heath Havey. Thank you for listening and making this podcast possible. Please visit our website at www.themysteriousjapan.com for more information. Please join us next time as we continue to explore the dark histories and strange mysteries of Japan.